Good late evening. It's Joyful Christian Hermit here. I had done a video this morning when we were running errands and decided not to post it. I was standing up and I am getting so thin that my face was somehow standing the gravity pulled more. And my face was all wrinkled and I was sort of in a rant, I was in a rant. I don't know if I couldn't remember if I took my morning med, and I was taking another one. Had to go to the pharmacy, and the pain doctor had forgotten to call in the prescription for this new med. So I'm out of this. I think I have one more sample I can take, and I can't tell if it's actually helping me or not. Some people will have like a psychological reaction, and oh, it's wonderful, psyched and wanting it so much. And somehow over the 41 years of suffering, constant pain, I have lost that. I try things, but I don't have this big hope or think it's going to be a psychosomatic effect of, oh, it's working, and then 5 days later you're stuck in horrible suffering or something. So doesn't work, or it hadn't worked, or there's terrible side effects, or super costly. But I'll call him Monday and have him put in because it's worth a try. I just don't get all excited. I used to get excited to see a new neurosurgeon or a new orthopedic, thinking maybe he would see something or know something that could be done. Other people then start in. Try this, try that. Go to this doctor. Send your films to the Mayfield Institute and things. And since my cousin did, and they got lost in the mail, my original myelograms and everything are gone. Were years ago. So no one could even see the before and after of that surgery in which I died in recovery. So, and then the second surgery, just the mess of my spine and the arachnoiditis. But it's a new scan that you get new ones, and the neurosurgeon here, is the only one out of all those years who spotted it, the arachnoiditis. And it was sort of good in a way. I'm glad I didn't know before, maybe, because all these things that are going to happen. But maybe I would have pushed my body more before, but God provided for me. It just turned out in my life that I would get into situations unintentionally, duped, and I would have to work my way out and use my body, except for the gardens. Well, that was a situation. I started doing trees to build a deputy said, build a barrier. Well, I couldn't do a fence in this HOA back in the Midwest when I had the crazy neighbor. He said, well, you're going to have to live like there's a forest between your houses. And we were like 10 feet apart or less. So maybe it was 8 feet even. So I thought, trees, narrow, upright trees, conifers to block. And then I added on some deciduous further down. But I created a wall around that house. I even had to go to a front courtyard garden that protected me. She would just come out on the front sidewalk or the front street and yell and curse and prance around and say, horrible things and threaten me. So I blocked her out as best I could with trees. God bless trees. They are a fortress, a protector. But then she complained about the gardens, so it was a no-winner. They were going to sue me, claiming that my beautiful gardens had caused their house not to sell. At one point, it was right after I had the protective order, and they were taking me to court then but their papers, they put it turned in, or the lawyer turned it, or his aide turned in the wrong paperwork, and the judge just threw it out. So they lost their chance. It had to be done within a certain period of time to fight back at a protective order. But the protective order wasn't, they never followed through on it. So it's been quite an interesting life to see how God provides for me on things I don't know about. Either I got into that island house and thought I would have time to read and write and enjoy and explore the island, just enjoy, relax. And because that's pretty much what I'd done other than my gardens in the Midwest. 3 seasons I had work I could do, and I liked doing that. I was really rather bored in the winter. And I think that was God also. And I was always worse in the winter too. Partly the weather back there, but partly I wasn't as active. But on the island, since the house was a tear down, and it was a rat and all these terrible things wrong with it once I was in it, I had to just totally got it, and learn how to do things and keep busy. And I just work. I got out. I think I was out of money. My spiritual father had given me money. My aunt had bought a tub that I could install, paid for the tub, and as part of the finishing. Others had given me discounts. I got great deals on things. And my eldest daughter paid my visa bill. I was able to get I had to get an extension to pay my taxes by half a year and paid a fine. But I don't know what I would, well, I think my oldest daughter would have paid for my taxes had I needed help from her, because I was so close. She came out when I had the head injury, and I would have done even better with that house sale had I not had flown off the stairs I was building. But it was the daughter here then who got her siblings to come, and they all helped, and I gave anyone who helped me. After I got that place sold, I was giving out bonuses all over the place. Anyone who stuck with me, there were a couple of people who didn't, who, I would tell even kids, if you stick with me, if you do a good job and stick with me, I was paying them an hourly that was the basic minimum wage. But I said, I'll give you a bonus when I get out of here. And so it was fun mailing off these checks to different people. It was substantial. Well, some of them were going to college, and, I felt just so blessed to be out of it and to have it done and to have done amazingly well with the sale. Now I realize the realtor undersold it. I could have gotten more at the time, but it's all right. I mean, I was just so relieved also. I left the doctors on the island. The woman doctor was very nice. She had left and went to a reservation, so I couldn't go to her anymore, even if I drive to the mainland. And then the island doctors, the males, were very thinking that I was an addict, and so they wouldn't give me pain meds anymore. And I went to the mainland trying, and no. Very, very unusual, because Seattle area is very liberal. And there's people, it was free. You could buy pot and things. Well, that isn't what I need. I didn't want to be a pothead. I just needed for my pain. And pot wasn't going to do it. This is serious pain I'm talking about. So arachnoiditis, it's ultimate pain. So especially the older you get, just gets worse and worse. So it was amazing. I got here, and I had an appointment with the DO And my daughter here, she had to go with me to verify for me. I said, "You've got to go with me. They won't believe me. They won't trust," even though I had records from way back. But I think I had, and I was on a lower dose back then. I didn't realize a couple months later I found out I was going to have a massive surgery. Oh no, it was, I found out that he needed to find a surgeon for me, and he said he had to get the best one. But I was just, like, oh well. And then it was 2 months after I moved in here, ready to, do something, but my back got so bad, and then I met with a neurosurgeon 2.5 months or so after I moved in, and he explained to me the type of surgery he was going to have to do. Very intricate, very serious, year recovery, going to be a very arduous surgery. So, and it was, but he did a great job. So, it was about a year recovery. So I didn't, and I was told I would never paint walls. The physical therapists and stuff said I should, and if I wouldn't be able to garden if and I just went ahead and I started painting on a hot pink bedroom upstairs, priming it, and I could just do like one wall a day. And, so I'm just used to bit by bit. I have Our Lady of Solitude here. The Virgin, this is her statue. I'm trying to remember where I found her. I don't recall, but I was thrilled to find Our Lady of Solitude. There I have had her here this last week and this week, just for some moral support and things, and just enjoy seeing this representation of the Virgin Mary. I wanted to read this. Let me get some glasses on. It's a beautiful dialogue from Catherine of Siena, and I appreciated what she wrote. It's very positive. I sent a text, or I guess a text message to my eldest, because I'm not making any headway on the trust. I wasn't making any headway this morning on medications. And I'm not in good shape. Gut still isn't working. And I think I had three big bowls of watermelon today, maybe four. But I'm getting so thin. I started to try to eat a little bit. I'm trying not to eat much because I don't want to get all blocked up. Because Tuesday night was horrible. So, I don't know. Then this other medicine, this new laxative, the pharmacist didn't have today. Not on hand, but it's going to be so expensive to buy it. I don't have that kind of money. That's why I'm very highly tempted to still trade with my daughter, because the bills will be a little less, but I'll have more gas trying to drive here to do the gardening, because she's not going to have time to do it. I know she won't. The whole thing is just a mess. God is showing me just how the temporal world is at this point in my life. And it's I vacillate around about, trying to get this trust done, finished. And it was so sad that, I would have just been thrilled, I think. Well, my daughter, she was so convinced in her mind for some time that the house wasn't worth what it's worth. Way back. Because her, when she sees all this clutter and stuff, that really gets to her. Seriously. I mean, that's very neat and tidy, but has to be. She's very efficient. She works so many long hours. Teaching, essentially, pickleball, clinics, and intensives. She's a pro player. And people come, they'll fly in or they'll drive distances to come for 3 or 4 days, or even some guy comes 2.5 hours from Sun Valley or somewhere for a lesson. And a wealthy guy, older man, and fly from Seattle, and people do. So she works hard, and she gets paid well. But teaching is never going. It's not the same as her sister, who's has been in computer and has been way up in Microsoft for I think 15 years now or something, or 14, something like that, and before that in other companies. So she and her husband are doing fine. My son's doing fine. I think he's still working for CBS as a producer or something. And his wife works. She's flies. Could do other, but she really loves flying, being a stewardess. So, and she loves England. I don't know anything about them for 2.5, nearly 3 years now, because he cut me off. But it's just hard. I just have this guilt, this sense of when she was disappointed or felt she was being punished. I don't understand. I'm trying to understand, but I'm realizing now it was just her mind was set that this house was worth about 300,000 or more, 300,000 less than what it is, and that's a lot. And I wasn't going to charge. I was going to do a family discount, because if she didn't want it, maybe her brother, well, he's not involved, is he? I keep wondering if I should include him at all, even just a little bit. But people have said, well, if he's cut himself off and he was old and he was 40, nearly 40 when he did it, going to be 40 in 3 months or something, and not nicely, and didn't even call when I nearly died. The daughter and told him, I've told her if anything else happens, don't even tell him, because then he would contact like my grandson or her, but not me. And I wonder if he just was hoping maybe I'd die, because he thinks he's going to get his one-third full share. And I don't, don't think that would the prodigal son have gotten anything had he not come back? If my son comes back, calls and wants to be nice and not bully on the phone or flip out at things, be nice at Christmas and birthday, call at least. But he's blocked me. Phone, all Facebook, Instagram. I can't find out anything about him. My cousin told me he had changed jobs a couple of years ago. And I did see a photo of him a year ago, this summer, with one of my cousins, but he wasn't with them this time. Maybe they didn't invite him or they didn't have as big a party. But, and I hardly recognized him, he and his wife. So, haven't seen him in, well, he flew out, that was 2018, to help. I think he was out around 3 or 4 days, and he worked hard helping with that. And I paid him a big bonus, for help coming out helping. And I did it also to sort of heap coals on his shoulders, because after I got into that house and found out it was a teardown, he got angry at me. Took it. My kids tend to do that. It's part of this situation of goes right down the line of how messed up, in some regards, relational um, discord and dysfunction for children who were reared by a single, and mother is worse than father, but a single parent um, who has chronic pain. The effects on them, how they are as adults in the relationship. And I praise God I found that study because it helped me a few years ago. Well, several years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago. Things weren't good with this daughter here either for about 11 years. Other than, when she needed me to help her, of course, I would have been there. But no, she was individuating out or something. So um, it was, but he flipped out back then, back in 2013, and cut me off. And then I had the head injury 5 years later, and that broke the ice. And he did say he felt bad. He says, "Oh, it's so beautiful, Mom. All your trees just look so gorgeous here, and you've done such a great job on this house." And he was really impressed and very complimentary, and brought up, that he was sorry that he had acted that way, had doubted me or something like that. But this time, I don't think he is. He got involved with his dad, and his dad is very good with saying things, untruthful things. And so I'm sure he's been told lies about the divorce or things. He was just a baby. So, and he didn't even remember why we had to leave California. Part of the reason had to do with him. Bad, naughty things happening to a 6-year-old. Was he 6 then? He was 5 still, going on 6. And the oldest daughter told me about it, crying when they got back from Christmas break, visit with them, with their dad. So, and the little boy told me, my other daughter told me, so I had to call a lawyer, and they said, "You've got to report it to CPS," and went through several months of that. And he got out, though. He got out of it. Lied. He's very convincing. Sociopath, psychopath, and narcissism. And he was a school principal then, and then he was a superintendent. Turns out he would lie in his interviews. Dumb stuff usually, but to embellish himself. He's very convincing. Won me over. Fast, too. So I was thinking of that also, how God got me out of that marriage. I wouldn't have left because I really believed firmly in my vows. But I had said a prayer. It was a couple of weeks or 10 days before the accident. I remember it vividly. I just felt like my life, and of course the marriage, I could tell, it wasn't going well. He was being very awful to me. Terrible. We had just gotten moved up there. I'd stayed back with the children to sell the house. He wanted that. Then I sold it, and then he put us still had a stay back there. And that was real telling. And then he did slip up, or a woman did, intentionally put underwear in his laundry. So I knew he was having an affair. Figured it. Obvious. And he had all these stories, though, that, were so convincing. The 8th grade girls were just trying to do that to get him in trouble and put them in his car, in his laundry bag in his car. Right, like he left it unlocked or something in Beverly Hills. So He was a principal there. He got fired from that. I think a lot of places, I think they let him go once they found out, he lied a lot and was womanizing so much. But it was with me, it was always, oh, I want to apply and try to advance. But most likely he knew that trouble was brewing for him. But I didn't know for sure. There was one woman I was pretty sure before that. But a lot of men cheat on women, and nowadays a lot of women cheat on their husbands too. And they just go on for years like that, and eventually the man gets old enough that, he's not desirable and stops. And I'd accepted that. But God had that accident happen, and he didn't want to, that did it for him, for my ex. My being injured, back and neck. That did it. So he said he didn't love me, didn't want to be married anymore. Just walked in the door one night, I was fixing dinner, the children were around, just said that. Well, just the little one, but I was preparing a lovely dinner, and isn't that something? I was stunned though. You bury things. My kids have buried. They've buried a lot. But I texted again the eldest one today because her sister says, talk to her about this. Because the eldest has told her sister, the one here, that she doesn't want any inheritance. She doesn't want anything of mine. She isn't going to come out when I'm dying. If it's, if I'm not suddenly dead, she's not coming out after to help. And help her sister, but she'll just get a dumpster and put everything in it. I have to have everything written out because I want the books and the statues and everything to go to maybe the diocese so people can get them. I don't want them dumped, but the antiques, all this will just be dumped, or I imagine in a dumpster, or she'll hire someone to get it to a thrift shop or something. But the eldest isn't, she says, talk to her, because that's what she tells me, and that she, doesn't want anything to do with you. She says, I know it's hard, Mom, you'd be very painful. And she wrote again yesterday, I can't imagine what it would feel like to have two children just not like you and not want to be around you, not want to visit, not let you visit them, and blah, blah. And actually, it hasn't been so bad. The eldest one, though, is still a confusing situation for me, because when I did nearly die, she said she loved me and tried to intervene on her sister wanting to trade houses right away, trade townhome for this house. But I had said that I'd rather just stay here, but I didn't know if it was good for me. It was too soon. So, but my oldest daughter didn't say that part. And I was getting around to thinking it would be great to get out from under. Today, I started putting the bottom tile in, this big heavy tile. I'm not doing the huge pieces. I'll have to do that, and Sean will lift it or something. But I had to take it out tonight, late. I had to take it off, scrape all the adhesive off. I made a mistake. Thank heavens, God really helps me. He helps us all. But I got into bed and I thought, should I put another troweling on the back of the tile as well as on the wall? And then I thought, no, just back butter it smooth on the wall, and then put on the tile, or either way, and then have your trowel, your grooved adhesive, and push that into the wall. So I'll look it up again online, which way is best to do first. But my tile was out so far. I had so much adhesive, so I had to take it out tonight and scraped it all off and washed off the back of the tile. And I'll start again tomorrow. Um, but God, hell, I had that thought after I'd finished it. It was all plumb and level. The first layer, the bottom part, under the where the fireplace starts, and so this is probably going to go on till next weekend because I have to get the lower level on first and let that dry. Really, it's best before you load up more. You don't have to, but it's a lot of weight that can shift and move. Well, we'll see. See what we do with if he's feeling better tomorrow. He was sick today, really done in the stress and the strain of a new job, and he's so conscientious and serious and sensitive. I'm a lot like, but he hadn't had a job, and he so I suspected he wouldn't feel well today. He made it through all 5 days. He had had trouble health-wise being able to work a full-time job, so this is real progress. The doctors at the VA have really helped him. I've mentioned before he had a head injury in the Air Force Academy, and it got ignored. They found the concussion, but they didn't see that he had a brain injury. So it has affected him, not his mind, but different aspects of brain chemistry. Oh, bless his heart. He's a genius. He's very bright, but it took him a long time to finish up his master's in cybersecurity because he gets sick. But they're tried different medicines on him now. It's a team working with them. So this is exciting. So if he's still woozy tomorrow, I'll understand because I can just do the lower level. And in a way, I should start with a higher level and work down, fill in because of the of the base that I had to sort of build out. But I had it just right. Everything was in just right. But I ended up putting troweling on the tile and on the substrate, the drywall, sheetrock, and it was the mud was as thick or more than the tile. So I thought something in me when I got onto the bed with my bowl of watermelon to go to sleep, it was like, oh no, that's not right. That's not right. And I found conflicting stuff online, but usually when you back butter, it's just a smooth coat. And you put your grooves on the substrate. So, and then you put the smooth, but with adhesive on it, onto that and slightly adjust it. Or I have my rubber mallet out to barely tap it because it's a 4 foot by 2 foot or 4 foot by 10.5 inch sheet. This first one is. It'll get up to being 2 feet by 4 feet. That's what Sean is needed to lift them. So that was another thing that just that little notion when I got into bed that something was wrong. My angel, perhaps, Holy Spirit, but God is always helping us. So I love this, and He'll help me in the Virgin Mary. I've asked for help on figuring out this trust. And I have decided I'm going to try to finish the house. Oh, I'll keep working on it until God makes it clear. I thought He wanted me to make a radical change when I had this gut attack and was nearly died. So I know He does. But I'm going to have to slow down the manual labor and do more spiritual. Or maybe just trade and let the daughter pay to have it finished. But if she's concerned about finances, then that's not smart to do on her part. She says, stop, don't worry about other people. But I do. I anticipate for other people. And that's what love does. The older you get, the more you love, the more you suffer, the more you'll love, and the more you'll suffer. So I wrote in a comment to somebody just a little bit ago, talking about love and suffering, and how love and suffering are very, very, and sadness and sorrow is okay. It's good. It's all right. Here, let me get the there's so many. I have so many of these sermons. Saint Catherine of Siena, right here. Love with the very love of God. Catherine heard God say to her, "And I would have you know that just as every imperfection and perfection is acquired from me, so it is manifested by means of the neighbor. And simple souls who often love creatures with spiritual love know this well. For they have received my love sincerely without self-regarding considerations. They satisfy the thirst of their love for their neighbor equally sincerely. If a man carry away the vessel which he has filled at the fountain and then drink of it, the vessel becomes empty. But if he keep his vessel standing in the fountain while he drinks, it always remains full. So the love of the neighbor, whether spiritual or temporal, should be drunk in me without any self-regarding considerations." This is Jesus himself talking to someone, a saint, Catherine of Siena, years ago, centuries ago, talking to her about love, to love with the very love of God. So he goes on to tell her, "I require that you should love me with the same love with which I love you. This indeed you cannot do because I loved you without being loved. All the love which you have for me you owe to me, so that it is not of grace that you love me, but because you ought to do so. While I love you of grace, and not because I owe you my love. Therefore, to me, in person, you cannot repay the love which I require of you, and I have placed you in the midst of your fellows, that you may do to them that which you cannot do to me, that is to say, that you may love your neighbor free of free grace, without expecting any return from him. And what you do to him, I count as done to me." So this might put a new twist on my trust situation. God is saying, love, you're loving others with love that God gives us to love. Love is a grace. So it shouldn't matter. The love I have for my children should be enough. And what tangibles is extra. But the thing is about love is that not other people may not be at that place of understanding that I would be pleasing God by loving them, and perhaps with the one that has the least, that yes, I just give it to her, and the others don't have anything. I did write to my eldest daughter, said, please just, your sister wants you to talk to me about this trust thing. But I said, what I want to know is, I know you have told your sister these things, that you want nothing, that you don't want anything to do with me, that you're not coming out to see me again. that you're, I mean, she didn't this time, but she said she was going to come if I needed the surgery. She was flying out. She had already told her boss. We had a nice conversation. She even told me a little bit about the granddaughters, their summer. Just a short little thing, but I'll take anything. I'll take any little breadcrumb tossed my way and be grateful. Or nothing, because that's what love, when you pray for people, love them and forgive them, then you go live your own life, it's okay. So it hadn't bothered me anymore. I was released even from the sun, but having to do this trust and trying to figure out, then other times I think just give them all an equal percent, but I want to have a percent for Father Vincent. So, that will be in there, and they won't like that, but they'll cope with it. They're adults. Well, the son won't like it because he's so angry against the Catholic Church and turned against God. And the oldest daughter would probably, she's not ever been interested since she was 4 years old. Something evil happened. But she would go to church. She had to go. I made her go. We all went. Up until I think her senior year in high school in the spring, I stopped pushing it. But she would go mostly. But I decided to pick the battles, It was getting bad. She was very ready to go to college. Oh no, maybe I battled it out till end of school, but I think I let her skip a couple of times or something. But she went to youth. She enjoyed the kids who went to church and things. She had wonderful Christian friends. But I think a lot of it was against me. She really had a lot pent up from the divorce or from I was so sick and going through so much myself at a young age, relatively young age, 33, that had my whole life just turned upside down, including the surgery. So I lacked. I didn't have enough to give, and I was still working. I had to go into teaching again, which isn't my gift. I mean, I love it, but I get into the thoughts and don't even notice some kids sleeping back there or something. So I wasn't a natural teacher, let me put it that way. It was not my gift, even though I tried and I liked it. Okay, but the classroom was too intense for me because I sent souls very well, so it was really a bombardment of inner sense coming into me. And that was difficult then. So I'd find relief in the thoughts that I was teaching and then not be as alert in it. Well, it's hard to describe, but anyway. A mystic, it wouldn't do well in a classroom of 35 high school kids, just let me put it that way. And one that was really innately called to be a hermit and called to suffer. So it was a suffering, though. But it was hard. It was hard being on my feet on concrete floor with linoleum, but my back was injured. So I wore out. And it was tough times for my children, and on through it was, especially when I didn't have pain meds. So, but something, I think she maybe in childhood, she took the divorce the hardest. She's sensitive. And I didn't realize how sensitive she was until later on, much later on. So I wasn't meeting her at the point she needed, or how I would have needed, being sensitive. So, and I think maybe she blamed me, or I don't know, for a lot, but was angry, upset, wounded, and didn't talk much, but I wrote more things today of, this is what I've been told you said, but from what then you talked to me, I have a hard time believing. So I said, but I love you regardless. It won't matter to me. I'll still love you. Uh, just tell me, is that true? Is that uh, what you want? Because if she doesn't want anything, then yeah, let the one have it. I'm going to be dead, not going to matter to me. But this and Jesus telling Catherine of Siena these things, it takes love to another level and away from. I require that you should love me with the same love with which I love you. But you cannot do it because I loved you without being loved. All the love which you have for me, you owe to me, so that it is not of grace that you love me, but because you ought to do so. Well, I love you of grace, and not because I owe you my love. Therefore, to me, in person, you cannot repay the love which I require of you. And I have placed you in the midst of your fellows, that you may do to them that which you cannot do to me. That is to say, that you may love your neighbor of free grace, without expecting any return from him. And what you do to him, I count as done to me. So if my kids equate love with inheritance, see, we have to anticipate the other people. My kids aren't going to understand love like this, that you love freely without any expectation of anything. If that were the case, the one daughter would say, I don't need anything. I don't want anything. And wouldn't even want to have a house. Mine, she wants mine because she can't get into any other. The interest rates are too high. And her husband cheated. He did a cheat with this mortgage guy. Wasn't a bank mortgage they had. Some guy. And she was, to try to qualify, had to be at 6.1%. And he let a former son-in-law, assume the loan at 2.9. So she couldn't afford it at 6.1 interest rate. She should have been able to assume the loan also. But she didn't want to get a lawyer and get into a big battle. I think to protect her son, that's love. To not have a big battle. And her husband is horrible to deal with. So she pretty much, but she did get, half his retirement, half his 401k, and half the appraised value of their home. But she had put in 2 pickleball courts, an indoor one and an outdoor, at her own cost from all her earnings working, doing these lessons. And I think by then she had won some medals, had medal winnings, $34,000, and she lost all that. Got nothing for those courts. And that stung. So, but now interest rates went up even higher, and she could get into the townhome. And that's very convenient to her work, but it is small, cramped, and dark. And I think just for her own sense of not being so shat upon, she would love to have a house. She would love that. And I want to fulfill that for her. But I keep thinking I need to keep it fair. And have her, pay, because all I have is in this house. I'm down to I have very low income. Always has been, ever for 41 years, or no, 38 years, ever since I lost my career and couldn't work anymore because of the pain, too inconsistent. like, I'm doing this stuff, but I'm doing it in extreme pain, also on pain meds, but I have to lay down a lot. And I don't, like 2 days, I couldn't do anything this week. So I'm not consistent. So, and I couldn't do my career anymore. I was an insurance hazard. They would never hire me. I was told that you never get an education again. They just can't have somebody with a back as bad as mine. And they didn't know I didn't know I had arachnoiditis then. Arachnoiditis is an automatic disability, but it has to be proven. It has to be seen by someone who knows. And it took all these years before somebody was adept enough to know what arachnoiditis was and spot it. So God will work it out, but this is, please God by loving others. And maybe I should do just equal to each, but the one won't get a house then. Not for a long time, if ever. But maybe it's better. I don't know. Here I get into thinking, she's so close to her work. And, I don't know what's best. So I'll just keep waiting and praying. But love is so beautiful. And I was thinking also about suffering and love. But God really, really stated here a beautiful statement. You may love your neighbor of free grace without expecting any return from him, and what you do to him I count as done to me. So whatever we do of love, it's pleasing to God. And I was thinking today, and I wrote it in this comment, that because it's sad. I find my family relation sad, and many people's. I find it very sad that Gray Rocking had to move from a perfectly fine apartment. Her husband had died and had to move there, and then had to move to another state to get away from very bad, dangerous elements in the apartment building. And it came in after she had already lived there a couple of years. So got to another state, and bad is starting to happen again. It's a state in which she can have better protection for herself, but it's sad, isn't it? To try to come and have a, like I did with the island. I thought, oh, beautiful island, ferns in the forests, and take a ferry over. It was just so peaceful, and I had so much space around me. Boom was an awful neighbor trying to take part of the land, part of the lot. It was just under 2/3 of an acre, with 10 acres in front that could never be built on. So and then a little road, and then a house and trees that, people were secluded. And I was just so ready to have something quiet and peaceful and do my writing and my reading, and boom, there's this neighbor man trying to take part of the property through adverse possession, a loophole law up in Seattle area. So, things happen, and I realized later it was the best Patmos experience a hermit could have. My spiritual father at the time says, you're going to be an authentic hermit now. And I was. It was tough. It was tough living for 5.5 or 6 years. And in all ways, I was on Patmos. Seriously. But now it's health and surgeries and So and then I thought, oh, get to that townhome. It would be nice, open the screen. The dogs could just run out in the little tiny fenced area. And I could, garden, try to fix up her place a little bit for her, help her out, lighten it up with paint and different things. But it's sad. Sadness. There's nothing wrong with sadness, is what I came to. It's all part of the chain of this double helix of energy and power, this intertwining of love and suffering. So of course there's going to be sadness with suffering and sorrow. That's a normal reaction. An emotion is all it is, but it's also a power, an energy. This double helix of love and suffering together. And then you come through and understand, that loving others pleases God, being selfless, and the problem that is, though, is other people don't understand that kind of love. See, they don't understand it, and Jesus never said, you must be happy. Follow me and be happy. No, follow me and carry the cross. But in the cross, in suffering, is love. All of our crosses, just sort through them, and they come back to love. Just like I hope that Rocking Gray keeps her comment up, what she was explaining, because she loved these people that had moved into her apartment, and then when they realized they were drug people, making drugs, selling it and using it, and dangerous, she had welcomed them and they turned on her, but she did report when the illegal activities and the danger began, because she loved them as a neighbor and as someone who wants good for them. And there were, of course, other people there with them, probably families or something, wives or whatever, who were affected and could easily be killed or arrested or included or get into a lot of trouble, or else being abused or threatened. You must not tell anyone. Or so it wasn't just a drug maker. They have connections with family and things. So she did the right thing, the loving thing, for everyone, for other people in the building who were in the apartments, who were at risk, and the legal thing. So I understood it totally. And then she gets to this next state, and here it is, more trial. And I think those who have a great capacity to love, and God knows it, gives them more challenges, because he knows we will keep trying and trying to figure out and then come to realize it's about love. It's to do the loving thing. I felt it was loving to write to this eldest daughter and say, please just say, I will love you anyway. Is this true? You don't want anything, that you do not want any inheritance? Seriously. Because I said, that seems unfair to me, because you and your husband we were very close, or not super close, but I mean very communicative, close. It was a wonderful a normal adult relationship, and a grandma with granddaughters relationship. When some things happened, she wanted me there, her mother. So when she had the second baby and wanted her mother to come and take care of the older daughter and come see in the hospital as soon as the baby's born and special times, and always included me on Thanksgiving and Christmas and birthdays and for and they had a birthday party for me when I turned 60. The little girls were so excited and they went all out, and came and surprised me. It was just so much. So no, there was love there, but evidently I did something, she won't say what. I thought it was that I'd moved away, and that insulted her. And another time it was something else that had happened, that I wasn't fast enough. It takes time for an old person to make a decision, and she'd offered to get someplace back there because I'd tried to get an earlier island house and then realized it had very bad neighbor, and another area looked bad, looked drugs. And so I let it go, but it would have been easier to live in, except I could not take knowingly having another horrible neighbor problem. And I felt lost because my kids wanted me out. The police wanted me to get out of there, of the home I had that was ideal for me, and my garden's all done. It was tough. But I knew, that going through court, I would have to spend lots of money, and who knows the outcome anymore in life. So it just wasn't worth it. So I moved. And eventually then I did, when she got angry with me then, because I couldn't immediately say I'd fallen in love with the beauty of the island. So then that was in right after Thanksgiving. About 8 or 10 days later, I'd had time to think it through, and I called her and said, yes, I'd love to take you up on your offer. She and her husband were going to get a larger place with like a mother-in-law out pool house or something, a studio apartment. But I did know that her husband they wouldn't want me to garden. So that was, and my aunt said, "Oh, you're too young. You're not ready for that kind of life yet." And it was true. But I decided, yes, I would do that. That how generous and how loving, and help with the grandchildren, and that I would just switch gears. And I didn't know I had arachnoiditis then, but I had terrible pain sieges, and I also didn't know about getting any pain meds. That's always a consideration for me. And the daughter who lived in Seattle area at the time said, "Oh, it's easier to get them here, get pain meds and get a pain doctor." Well, no, it turned out, no, it wasn't at all. Not if you're seriously in pain. If you're a drug addict, yes, you can buy stuff and don't get arrested, and you can buy pot and it's legal, but pot doesn't handle severe pain. Just screws up your mind. So eventually, it alters things. Old people who've done pot for years, they call them potheads, and I met plenty of them out there on that island. But so it's I just thought, just tell me, let's just have it, and move on so I can make these decisions. That would simplify things. Then I could just greatly discount this house and not have much, if anything, for even if I included the other child, which I wonder if I should. Because, I think about his faith. Is that going to make him even more angry? Oh, she did this because I'm left the church and I'm against God or something. Who knows what will go on his mind. And this other daughter says, you can't be worrying about what's in their minds. But yes, you do. You can discern and try to make the optimum. What would maybe have the best outcome? He'll definitely be very angry with nothing, but he deserves that because he cut off. And this other daughter has not, but she's estranged again. And so I'm praying that she'll just have the courage to be honest with her feelings. She has trouble with that and always has. So she'll say things to like her sister to keep that relationship and then won't talk to me, honestly. Because I think she still has love for me. Obviously she does. She wouldn't have said she was flying out for the surgery if I needed surgery. And we didn't know yet that I didn't. So it wasn't that she had an easy out or anything. So love is interesting in suffering. This is a suffering thing, but it's not a bad thing. I was getting down on myself for thinking about it and for going through it. All the sorrow is a prayer. It's love. And the concern, it's all love, causes suffering. They're intertwined. Love begets suffering, and suffering begets love. Two people, a man and a woman, make love. God gives them that capacity. A beautiful thing, very enjoyable. And the woman gets pregnant, excited, but oh my, I have a young woman contacting me today. Any ideas? Because the baby is resting on a nerve on her back. And she is in agony, and she says, I immediately thought of you. It's Amanda, the girl that I helped when she was little. And I tutored her and things, and we became friends, and now still are. And she's having her third child, and so I told her about getting lacrosse balls and things, something hard. So she had a baseball she was going to try. But she says, I rolled it on. I said, no, you have to lay on it and suffer the pain and do it for at least 2 to 3 or 5 minutes even, or longer, until, pressure point kind of thing. It'll feel worse, but then it'll feel better. But, it was interesting that she contacted, and because she's having all this suffering now. She's not going to be have a C-section or induced. I think C-section she has to have. She has a medical condition, and it'll be 37 weeks. They have to do 3 weeks early with her. So she'll have that suffering, or maybe she has to be induced, something like that, but early. But she might be in for it with this terrible pain. And I know it's hurting her because it's raw for people who aren't used to it. See, with me, I'm used to it, sorta. You're never really used to it, but it just keeps getting worse. But for me, I've had it so long that it's not in the realm of thinking anymore about what I felt like before. I don't remember life without pain, or what my body felt like or anything. So there's the suffering. And then she'll have the baby, and it'll be all this love. And the children, and they're sweet, and they're, the most wonderful time of your life was when my children were growing up. And then they leave, and then it can get really awful. And there is this trend. I think it's something like 30% of adult children now. It's called parent-adult-child estrangement, something like that, where the kids cut off, the adult children cut away, usually without giving any reason. Or if they do, it's something very small, or that's been blown up in their minds, exaggerated. Or if they go to a therapist, the therapist will, to keep more clients. It's been a trend also with not moral therapists who will plant seeds, and then the person keeps coming back for more and more. and then the therapist becomes like their alter parent to them. So they, keep them on for years if they want as clients. And then they dump their parents. No contact, nothing. And it's a very painful thing. Suffering again. Suffering. Because there's so much love. So in that sense, it's good. Now it becomes unhealthy when it disrupts our existences. The sadness or the sorrow or the grieving. No, God very distinctly, 3 years ago when my son was getting married and didn't invite me, took 5 weeks, every Sunday morning, a different word. I've told this before. It started in September. One Sunday morning, I heard this word, pray. Oh Lord, I'm praying for him. I'm praying for him. Then the next week, it was love. Oh, I love him. I love it. Yeah, I do love my children and my son, obviously. Then, and more than they love me, because they have gone on, which is natural. They need to love their spouses or their significant others or their own children more. Well, we're supposed to love God above all else. But not all of our adult children go on and keep a relationship with God, even though we've reared them as Christians. That's the case with mine. I think the daughter here still has, but never discusses praying or anything of the like anymore. Has really gone away from that, because that's a trend also among younger people. And they're middle-aged. My kids are middle-aged. Still a trend, along with minimalism. So, it's very sad. It's very scary. More suffering on us parents' part, or other people who love, and to see this and to know the suffering they will have later, the regret at judgment, and maybe not, they'll still progress and all afterwards. They'll repent and things when they meet with Jesus. They're not all going to hell. The ones who don't repent will, according to Scripture and what Jesus says. But there's a lot that can happen between the last breath and the judgment, because time is endless. There's no time on the other side. So everything's very, fluid and loose, and no body, but everything else goes with us. So communicate with God, and He listens, and you talk, and it's instantaneous thought flashing. And people just being there and having all that glory around and meeting with God. I'm assuming my kids will melt, including the son, and repent. I'm praying for that anyway. So that was the pray and love. Then the third week, Sunday morning, was forgive. Ooh, that's tough, isn't it? It really is tough to forgive. We can say we have forgiven, but as they say, we haven't forgotten. Or we've forgiven, but we react. We react. And I admit to that, I reacted, and not verbally to him. I kept trying to reach in, but that didn't help any. It probably made it worse. So I did react in what I thought would be positive or helpful, but it wasn't, to him or to his fiancée at the time, then his wife. Then there were 2 weeks, though. He gave me 2 weeks with forgive. I didn't know anything more was coming. But then on a Sunday morning, it was the day after his wedding. God had it all timed around that theme, because that was painful. because my son had talked to me over, I think I want to ask her to marry me way back, all this close and conversations on the phone. And sometimes when he would flip out, so he may have some issues of what his dad has, um, some kind of personality thing. He's not sociopath, but he, could have similar. His voice sounded like his bullying on the phone when he does that. Oh my goodness! I thought I've had enough of that. Don't need that anymore. And I haven't missed that of, to tell you the truth, of his cutting off. I have not missed not knowing when he would call what, if he was going, if I would say something that would flip him out. So, because he's very, very stuck on what he's doing, and all is right in all categories, and very angry against the church, and has gone against God, the Catholic Church in particular. So I had 2 weeks, and then there was the Sunday 2 weeks, or the day after his wedding. Live. And I said, oh Lord, I was confused. I said, well, try to live more for them or for my children. Or I had figured it was my children. That was my main thing right then. Not just him, but I had also started to include the other two in this process, because none of it was going well. The oldest one, no. And actually, back then, this daughter here wasn't communicating. Or if she was, it was very critical. It was hard. It was tough. Painful, sad, but really painful. Pain comes with suffering. So, and the more we love, the more it hurts. Think of Jesus on the cross. He loved so much. That's why his sacrifice and his death and his crucifixion is so powerfully painful. So, no, it was live, but it was live your life now. Live your life. So, love is part of living. And I just thought this from Catherine of Siena is so beautiful, and how we please God by loving as he loves. And just let go of temporal in that regard, and love others and love God, and know that we are loving because of God's grace. So, this is the 95th dialogue. Catherine of Siena wrote her dialogues, it was called. That was the title, her dialogues. You can get a copy of it. You look it up online. Dialogue 95. It's this one I read. So, pray, love, forgive, and live. God bless you all. And don't shun sadness, sorrow, and pain. And don't feel ashamed for having those emotions, or feel like, oh, I've got to get rid of this. I've been on this, thing. I don't know how long it's been. At least 2 weeks of more serious involvement, thinking of this trust and how am I going to show my love to my children through objects. None of the girls don't want any of the antiques or family heirlooms, nothing. The one's already gotten rid of stuff. The eldest one used to, but no longer. So you have to let go. Pray, love, forgive, and live your life. But the love is, as St. Paul says, is the greatest. The greatest of these is love. But sorrow and sadness, and it's okay. It's nothing to try to shove away. It's part of our lives, and it tells us that we love greatly, and we are offering our sorrows to God, as well as the pain, as well as the love. It all pleases God. When we suffer for a righteous cause, that's also by the grace of God. Suffering and love. Love to suffer and suffer to love. God bless you all. I love this. Our Lady of Solitude.